Hey, how's everyone doing? This is the Psycho MMA fan, Big Mike, coming back at you. It has been a while since I've made a video about upcoming UFC bouts, but I do want to get back into it since things have slowed down. If you have not heard already, Big Mike is now officially EDD, that stands for Doctorate in Education. So you can just call me Dr. Mike. All right. Now, this coming weekend down in Brazil, UFC 237. There's an interesting card that the UFC has put together for our enjoyment as MMA fans. And I just pretty much glance the bouts, and actually I've been glancing the bouts over the last couple weeks, seeing what's really in there. And let's start with the early prelims on UFC Fight Pass. Um, First things first, I do want to say that UFC Fight Pass has been downgraded now to almost like a soap opera channel. Um, it seems that the only UFC fights are the library of historical fights and a UFC pay-per-view event, the early prelims, and after that there would be nothing else because ESPN and ESPN Plus has basically taken over the UFC. The early prelims of UFC 237, really nothing that really jumps out at me. Um, However, there are four bouts, um, so I'll be taking a peek at that. But again, really nothing that jumps out at me. There aren't any up and coming contenders in those four fights. Now, as I stream forward to the prelims, and the prelims will be on ESPN. Now we start getting into some bouts that kind of raise your left eyebrow. First bout, um, BJ Penn. Now, it was a shock that BJ Penn was on this card because there has been no mention of BJ Penn anywhere. And it's just so hard to believe just how far from grace this UFC Hall of Famer has fallen. I wish him the best. He's going up against Clay Guida, and it should be an interesting bout. An interesting bout that features two aging fighters who probably should not be fighting. The fact that these two fighters are on the preliminary card of a UFC pay-per-view event shows just how much the UFC is lacking in talent. Or they might not be lacking in talent, but they're definitely lacking in guys who wants to go out there and fight. Also, we have a Betcha Correra sighting. Since she was smashed in the temple by Ronda Rousey about 4.5 years ago, we basically has not seen much from Betcha Correra. I still say that she should probably be fighting on the regional circuit. She's not really UFC material. She's still ranked number 13 in the bantamweight, women's bantamweight division, and she's going up against Irene Aldana, and it should be an easy win for Irene. And then the main event of the prelims features Little Nog versus Ryan Spann. This should be a barn burner. This is in the light heavyweight division. Now, when we move up to the main card, we have five featured bouts. First one is Francisco Trinaldo. He always puts on a great fight. Um, One bout that really stood out to me was Thiago Alves, and I do want to go over his record. Very very quickly. If you recall back in 2015 when he knocked out Jordan Mean with a body kick, I thought he was back on the rise. That was two wins in a row, but since then he has won two and lost four. I think that if Alves does not win this fight, he will most likely be on the cutting block of the UFC, even though he's one of their most active fighters in recent years. And let me just note, Alves has already fought this year in February, and we're at the beginning of May, and this is his second bout. So this is his second bout in about 90 days. I guess that's all right. He is 35. He's trying to make his last run, but he really needs this win. He really needs this win. When we start to look at his record, he is 23-13. That is a subpar record for the UFC. So I'm wishing him the best. He could be in the cutting block if he don't get the job done on Saturday. Next bout is the next bout is Jose Aldo or Jose Aldo versus Volkanovski. This is a dangerous fight for Aldo. He has absolutely nothing to gain. Whether if he wins this bout, he has a lot to lose if he loses this bout. I was going over both of their records. It looks like Volkanovski is on a 16-fight win streak, but most of that win streak was before he was in the UFC against very subpar competition. But hey, you know what? Knockouts are knockouts, wins are wins. He's on a 16-fight winning streak against the future Hall of Famer Jose Aldo. And then when I looked at Aldo records, he's won two in a row against two very good fighters, Jeremy Stevens, and the last fighter was More Connell. And and those were very good wins, very good wins. In this bout, I can actually see Jose Aldo actually knocking this guy out. All right, so it should be three in a row for the great Jose Aldo. And finally, the championship bout. I really don't care. Well, of course, before the championship bout, we do have the greatest middleweight of all time, Anderson Silva, going up against Gerard Connier. Now, I don't even know about this bout. I don't really think Silva should be fighting. Again, he's 44 years old. He has nothing to prove. I know the card is in Brazil, and he's a Brazilian, but he really has nothing to gain, prove from this fight. I'm not sure why he's fighting. He's a millionaire many times over. He has opened up a gym in Los Angeles. From what I hear, is doing very, very well. So I'm not sure what Anderson Silva is doing over in Brazil, going up against a hungry young lion who's going to probably pulverize him in this bout. But again, Anderson Silva is always a danger when he fights. He keeps his body in shape, and anything can happen. But I don't see him being this young hungry lion, unfortunately. And really, when you look at Anderson Silva's record, since that first knockout to Chris Weidman back in 2013, Anderson Silva has only won one fight since then. Actually, he won two, but one of the victories was taken away when he popped positive for steroids. I do think that when he fought Michael Bisping, he did actually win that bout. but still officially, he's only won one fight in the last 6 years. It's time for a boy to hang it up. And finally, the featured bout, the women's strawweight championship bout, features Rose versus Jessica Andrade. Rose going into enemy territory to defend her title. Not sure why she's doing this, but I wouldn't be surprised if we crown a new champion on Saturday. I do like Rose, but this is just a weird fight. I think she's a better fighter than Andrade, but I don't know. I mean, when you talk about going into enemy territory, she needs a knockout to defend her title, and she can do it. But let's see what happens. I'm thinking we're gonna have a new strawweight champion. Well, those were my picks for UFC 237 this Saturday. I'll be back for the post-fight show on Saturday, and I'm looking forward to loading a lot more onto my YouTube channel over the next couple of months, especially when it comes to MMA fighting. I am going to really start following one championship, and I'm also going to really start following Bellator. So once again, this is the Psycho MMA fan, Big Mike, or Dr. Mike now, signing off for the night, and we will be in touch.